I'm Shelli Sonstein, and this is a herFLiX moment. Horror movies so difficult to pull off because what might scare me may not scare Farihah. And in a good horror movie, what you have to have is the equivalent of a punchline in a comedy. You have to have the jumps, and the more jumps, the better. In other words, I'm jumping out of my seat at this film. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is a remake of a 1973 film that scared director Guillermo del Toro to death when he was much younger, of course, which is why he decided to remake this film. He's not directing it, he produced it, he wrote it, and it stars Katie Holmes. And let's take a look at that trailer.
Sally, what do you think? We worked really hard to get her ready.
This house is unsafe for a child.
Who are you? Her name is Sally. I don't like it here.
You just had a nightmare.
I'll be right here. Where's my doll? They don't like bright lights, you know. They're horrible.
Who, Sally?
Those things. We want to be your friend. Get the light, get the light.
Don't be afraid of the dark.
I recently had a sit-down with Katie Holmes and director, writer, producer Guillermo del Toro. I love that the women in this film, well, one is a child, one is a woman, are the heroes. I love that.
Male is pretty useless.
He's really wimpy, useless, and
yeah.
Oh, I was horrified by him.
And a lot of credit goes to Guy for taking a role that without any resentment and understanding what made him tick. And understanding what is good about his arc, and I don't want to ruin it for the audience, is in the last minutes of the movie, he really comes to a shocking ending and a shocking realization. But it was a movie about two women of any age but bonding together.
And how was that for you, Katie, in a horror movie?
It was very exciting to do this movie, and I was so honored to work with Guillermo, and I love playing this character for that specific reason, to see her strength. You know, I love seeing strong female characters, and I do not like victims, and it's not very fun to play someone who's rescued. It's more fun to play someone that gets to just fight, and I think it's very real, and I love the journey that Sally and Kim take throughout this movie, because then they really earned this moment of triumph at the end.
What do you look for in a role?
I look for a character that I've never played before. I look for, you know, high quality material, and
Well, it doesn't get better than Guillermo.
That's right. And with this, it was like, Guillermo? Yes. When?
You saw the original film, the telemovie with Kim Darby. Why was it changed?
Well, the movie was really interesting to me when I was a kid, and it was so scary when I was a kid. And then, back then we didn't have VHS or any way to replay the movie, so we recounted the movie to our friends at school. And through the years, actually decades, we finally got to see it, and I realized a lot of the moments that I loved the most I had invented. We had fabricated them, and I wanted to redo it, but retell it as a fairy tale, as a dark fairy tale. So that was very important for me, that it was not just a remake, that it was a complete reinvention of the anecdote and the characters, using the same basic plot and some of the high points, but completely reinventing the story. So even people that saw the original don't know how this is gonna turn out.
What I absolutely loved about this film is that the women were the heroes. The women were the brave ones. The women would just put their life on the line, and the husband was an absolute wuss, Guy Pearce, who was usually very fierce.
Yeah.
But, like I said before, what you need in a good horror film is to have the jumps. And this failed for me to have the number of jumps to scare me. What was scary to me was before we got to see who the actual creatures were. They sounded scary, and just that, it was just so ominous before I saw them. Once I saw them, not so scary.
There's always something about a monster movie where it's all about the reveal. It's so much build up, and I think even though Guillermo del Toro didn't direct this film, he still has a significant stamp on that because there's all these like beautiful set pieces, and the architecture of the house is scary in and of itself, thinking about like why are we afraid of certain spaces like the basement and the garden maze, and that's all great.
And the bathtub.
And the bathtub, oh God.
It's always the bathtub.
See, I think I was a little more scared than you because just thinking about that is making me scared. But I did find the creatures a little bit disappointing, but I do appreciate that it's a little bit more of a thoughtful horror movie, I think. It's not just about scares, but he's sort of trying to tap into this idea of folklore and legend and the idea of like fairy creatures and how it's not all fun and games the way we talk about it now. You know, these like fairies and Santa Claus and all these things are positive, but
and it's like a comment on the tooth fairy.
Oh, yeah.
The tooth fairy suddenly becomes, oh my God.
Terrifying.
What am I teaching my kids here?
And it's sort of, it goes back to this time when these tales were actually really scary, this sort of like primal fear of, you know, magical creatures in the world.
What I also liked was that he changed the female character. In the original 1973 movie, it was Kim Darby. It was a grown woman. Making the main character a child makes it much scarier.
And also more appropriate in a sense because she's not helpless because she's a woman. She's helpless because no one will believe her. She's actually a very tough, resourceful 7 or 8 year old girl, and it's this incredibly infuriating thing for the audience because you know that these creatures exist and no one will believe her.
And it's interesting, I spoke with her too. She actually began her acting career when she was 2 weeks old.
Wow.
2 weeks, can you imagine?
Well, no wonder she's so good.
And she really is good. She's very natural, she's very poised, so she pulls it off. And of course, when you're watching this, you're also thinking of the other scariest kid ever in a horror movie, and that being The Exorcist.
Oh, see, I was thinking of The Omen.
Oh, The Omen.
There are a lot of scary kids.
Yeah, he was pretty scary too.
Yeah.
But were you scared?
Not as much as I expected, but I liked it anyway. You know what I mean?
It was good filmmaking,
yeah,
but not good scary filmmaking in my book. I would give it, oh, I even feel awful saying this, 2 coffee cups.
A 3 coffee cup movie for me.
And this has been a herFLiX moment.